Traders, how are you? With Marcello, founder of the Day Trading Academy. Today we're doing the recap of what happened in the markets last week. Over $2 trillion. Right, me, Joe? Right. Over $2 trillion wiped out from the market in 6 days. The size of Canada's economy. We also have a situation where, let me get this guy down for a second. All right. We also have a situation where we have news about the things in Europe from the pandemic, a new research study from Japan, in addition to Moderna admitting a few side effects that are not very bueno. And we even have a neighborhood in California that's moving so fast they had to cut off the electricity and even declare a state of emergency. Let's go ahead and get started. So as I mentioned, over $2 trillion wiped out in the market in 6 days. That's about the size of Canada's GDP. So just imagine the value of the economy of Canada being wiped out in the last 6 days. Far lower on Friday, worst trading week since March 2023. And this is all due to the fact that after we had the jobs report, a lot of investors are worried about a recession. Markets in the United States, all negative. The Communist Republic of Canada was negative over 2%. The S&P 500 as well had the worst market since March 2023. And some of the conspiracy news, Moderna admits that the mRNA thing in your arm from the pandemic causes cancer after billions of DNA fragments found in the vials. And a German doctor from, they didn't give me the university that he's from or where he's working, but his name is Dr. Wolfgang Wodarg, if you guys want to look it up. And he says that the monkeypox pandemic, or situation, let's call it, is just a side effect from the thing in your arm from the pandemic. So that's something interesting as well. He says that they're just fear-mongering at this point because it's just a side effect of that. And another news from DHS, Department of Homeland Security in the United States, Venezuela is emptying its prisons and sending them to the United States. They're at a record low in crime in Venezuela, actually. And I don't know if you saw the news either that there's literally Venezuelan gangs that are taking over apartment complexes in Colorado. In Chicago also, there was some news of that as well. Get ready because this is what's coming. It's going to get worse. International markets, the European markets are mostly lower. The Euro stocks, which is generally the largest stock market in Europe, was the most negative of all. Latin American markets were lower as well. The Bovespa, which is the biggest market in all of Latin America, was negative over 1%. Africa and the Middle East, mixed as well. South Africa was down 2.93%, while Asia and Australia was mixed. The Nikkei in Japan went down by over 6%. Bitcoin and crypto news, Bitcoin lower this week by almost 9%. It got down to under 54,500. Remember, I take that number Saturday morning, so it might be a little bit different since it's so volatile when you guys look at the number on Sunday or Monday. Commodities and energy, oil prices took a big hit this week. Erased all gains from 2024. Worst week as well for oil in nearly a year. This is the concerns about the tepid global demand. So if there's a recession coming, right, there's going to be a lot less demand for oil. A lot less people are going to be using it because less people are going to be flying and buying things, et cetera, et cetera. U.S. crude went down by over 8%. The Brent, which is the international, also went down by over 8%. And even as gold prices set new highs, central banks around the world have bought twice the amount of gold as normal, 37 tons in July. And this is what I always tell you, right? Don't pay attention to what they say. Like right before, some of you guys might not remember this because you're too young, but right before the 2008 and 2009 financial crisis, they literally looked us in the face live on TV and they were like, everything is fine. Nothing's going to happen. And then we literally had the worst financial collapse in 100 years. So don't believe what they say because obviously they're not going to tell us the truth. Right? We're going in for weapons of mass destruction. Remember that one? The demand is remaining strong, even though the prices are continuing to rise for gold. The global cacao deficit is also starting to increase as well. Prices, if you don't remember, due to the West Africa floods, in addition to the bad weather and the plagues, the insects that were getting into the plants. Because if you don't know, chocolate comes from a tree that the tree is called the cacao tree, and that's mixed with sugar and cream and milk and all that stuff. Prices reached a record over 12,000 per ton, kind of stabilized around 7, but now due to the shortage that they're anticipating, they're expecting it to go back up. Precious metals are lower as the economic reality is increasingly indicating a recession. Gold went down by 0.24% to just under 2,500. Silver had a worse week, went down by over 3% to 28.04. And then financial and banking news, South Korea, their inflation eased to the lowest level on a year-over-year basis in the last 42 months. 2% rise year over year compared to 2.6% in July. South Korea, not really a big economy, but a major exporter. If I remember correctly, they're the 6th or 7th largest exporter in the world. They're big on tech. Obviously, Samsung, one of the largest corporations in the world, exports a lot of stuff from there as well. Economic news, small improvements in China's manufacturing activity for August. The Eurozone manufacturing activity was in contractive territory. Almost couldn't say that right. Sharpest in a year. A lot of those numbers are coming mainly from Germany and France. Remember, Germany is the 3rd largest economy in the world, the largest economy in Europe. And the news on the job openings, there was a 3.5-year low in July from the job openings, suggesting that the labor market is losing steam. One of the things that was also reported was that Americans, U.S. citizens, lost 1.3 million jobs, while foreign-born workers got 635,000 jobs. So about half or so of those jobs that were lost by Americans went to foreign-born workers. U.S. job openings, a measure of labor demand, fell by 237,000 on the last day of July. That's in its lowest level of 2021. So now we're starting to get a lot of that negative news and activity in regards to the economy when they're reporting that. Not a whole lot of political news. In corporate news, Volkswagen, which if I'm not mistaken is the 2nd largest car company in the world after Toyota, based in Germany, for the first time ever, is considering cutting plants in their home country of Germany. They're trying to, quote unquote, be future-proof, quote unquote, probably buy another jet for one of the corporate CEOs. And Dollar Tree, obviously Dollar Tree, if you guys should know, if you're maybe outside of the United States, these used to be dollar stores, or not so much dollar stores anymore, but they're very low-cost supermarkets and stores that people go to instead of going to the normal supermarkets. They fell by the most on record, 22% on Wednesday, after they slashed their full-year outlook. Remember, something similar happened to Dollar General. They're basically saying that there's a lot of pressure on middle and high-income customers. Stock is down over 43% the last 3 months. NVIDIA also plunged almost 10%. They're at $108, falling in response to concern about the health of the U.S. economy. That's what helped the stocks go down on Friday. Frontier Communications, which is a internet company, is being bought out by Verizon for $20 billion in cash. Verizon is looking to expand its fiber network. And this year, over 27,000 jobs are being cut as Intel, Cisco, IBM, and Apple all slash their workforce. Everybody's preparing for the recession that's coming. And Telegram CEO Pavel Durov has been freed, supposedly. In technology, Starlink Tuesday stated that Starlink is now going to comply with Brazil's top court order to block access to the social media platform X. There was a little bit of a rift with one of the Supreme Court justices, which is basically acting as a dictator. And so now Starlink wasn't going to block X, but now they are going to. And they're also going to offer free emergency calls for mobile phones, Starlink is. And remember that they made an agreement with T-Mobile to be able to offer their cell phone services directly through the satellites. And Tesla, they jumped almost 5% after announcing that they are going to start offering their full driver assistance package, what they call full self-driving, in China and also Europe, quote-unquote, pending regulatory approval. The stock is up to over 22% the last 3 months, still down for the year, though, just a touch over 12%. International news, the truckers in Colombia, there was a big stink here in regards to the rise in fuel prices. So the government, instead of doing it on an international basis, this is the whole thing with capitalism and socialism. Everybody thinks we live in a capitalism society right now, and we don't. You need permission to go use the bathroom, practically, right? It's not capitalism. So keep that in mind. In Colombia, they actually set the price of gas, because they've been subsidizing it for years, And now, since there's a new government that wants to remove the subsidies, they raised the price. There was a huge blockades all over the country. I got stuck in traffic for about 6 hours one time as well. And interesting facts, Rancho Palo Verdes, which is a community in Los Angeles, normally would be moving about 8 inches a year. 8 inches is about, I want to say, 10 to 15 centimeters a year. This is what was moving, 8 inches. Now it's moving 13 inches per week. 13 inches, I want to say 1, 2, 3. I want to say it's probably about 20 to 30 centimeters for you guys internationally. Stating they're putting in an emergency, a state of emergency due to the situation. They had to cut off electricity to avoid the fires. But this is what I've been telling you guys about what's coming in California. I think a big earthquake is going to hit very soon, probably in the next year or two, and it's going to be very, very bad. Second largest diamond in history was also uncovered in Botswana. It's literally the size of your hand. That was also pretty interesting. That's the news for this week, guys. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Don't forget to subscribe, and remember, the preppers are right.